I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one, I'm breaking through.
Hello and welcome to another episode on the Business Renovator. Today we're going to talk about purpose-driven success, building a business culture that thrives with insights. I have an expert on that topic going to join me up here. But before we do that, if you're watching us live, thanks for being here, much appreciated. And if you're unable to watch us live, but you're catching us on the replay, remember #replay. Let us know where you're watching us in from. Live or replay. Any thoughts, questions, takeaways that you got from today, let us know, and we'll respond to you as quickly as we possibly can. Please subscribe to our channel, The Business Renovator, on YouTube, as well as share this out with your audiences. That would be greatly appreciated. In the meantime, I have a selfish plug that I'm going to play because that's how I get to come on here every day. Welcome back. And guess what? You don't even need a credit card. All you need to do is go to coachphil.ca. At the top right-hand corner, there's a button that invites you to take your business growth score assessment. And you may find that once you go through that, you could pat yourself on the back because there's no things that need to be adjusted. So kudos to you. However, if you're somewhere beyond that, below that, beside that, take the business growth score, and if you mention the Business Renovator, get a 30-minute complimentary coaching call. And the bonus for you guys today, we have another one of my peers here. So I'm pretty sure that if you resonate more with him, you can go to his website, which you will be introduced to at the end of the show, and have a conversation with him. But in the meantime, let's get ready to bring on my esteemed guest, and I will do his short intro. Again, this is purpose-driven success, building a business culture that thrives with insights. Mike Ungar is a FocalPoint master business coach and an executive coach, as well as CEO and co-founder of the Industry 4.0 or 4.0, depending how you want to do it, club. So that's a 4.0 club, focusing on and leveraging global talent to accelerate the transition to Industry 4.0. I bet they celebrate as well as they go through that and create their successes. So following his graduation from the United States Military Academy, Mike served as an infantry officer before joining Michelin North America, where he spent 35 years coaching diverse international teams. He is skilled in applying lean techniques to foster continuous improvement cultures. And in addition to his coaching roles, he's a certified CESMII, Smart Manufacturing Roadmap Professional. Mike also contributes to veteran transition programs and interreligious workplace understanding, and is a frequent speaker at manufacturing events. So I'm lucky to have him here today. With that bio, he's crazy busy. So let me bring him up. Hey, Mike, welcome to the show. Look, we got a black background. There's been changes to my episode. So you carry on and talk, and I'll fix that.
Hey, Phil. Good. Thanks, Phil. It's great to be here. I really appreciate the introduction. I'm excited to spend some time talking with you about culture and how important it is really for driving business results.
Yeah, culture is pretty much, well, there's culture whether you think you've got culture or not, because there's a spectrum of culture, right? There's a highly efficacious, all-inclusive culture, and there's one where it's coercive, do it my way or get the hell out of here culture, and things in between, aren't there?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. I think the first thing that I like to talk to business leaders about is exactly this point about, first and foremost, the leaders can't delegate culture. It's got to be something that as a leader or leadership team that the leaders create. Okay. And your point is right. Is it coercive or is it going to be empowering? And so, the question is, how do you want to lead your company? A lot of folks today aren't intentional enough about this, right? And so what happens is that they start seeing employees leave their company. And it's like, well, why are you leaving? Well, people will join you for a variety of reasons, but they're going to leave because of the culture or because of their supervisor. And so if you see that sort of thing happening as a leader, you've got some work to do in really driving and creating a culture that people will want to stay and be part of, take it for the long term.
So it's not about the money? The reason I bring that up with a tongue-in-cheek expression is people in business who are not paying attention to the culture, people do leave for the money, but that's the rationalization, but that wasn't the motivation initially. If they're happy where they are and feel respected, appreciated, and empowered to be their best self, money becomes less of an issue.
Yeah, and I like to quote, a psychologist named Hertzberg, and he came up with a model called the two-factor theory. And what that really explains and talks about is the fact that money or salary is certainly a satisfier. In other words, you have to have a certain level to be satisfied, but it's not a motivator. It's not what motivate people to stay. Those are the other things, the intangibles. And so, yeah, someone might leave you for money. By that I mean, if they can get 30-40% more. But the question I like to ask when that happens, it's a very interesting thing. When people leave on exit interviews, they'll tell you, well, I'm leaving for more salary. The real question is, why did you start to look? Okay. And that question is very insightful, because then you say, well, I started to look because I wasn't happy with the culture, or I wasn't able to advance, or my supervisor did this or that. So it's really a more interesting question when you say, well, why did you start to look? Because then you get to the root cause of what's happening inside your culture.
Can you say that question one more time?
Why did you start to look for a new opportunity? So the outcome often when people leave, they're not going to leave for less salary, right? Normally they're going to leave for more salary, but it's not why they start to look.
Yeah, it wasn't the crack that got them looking, right?
So it's really quite interesting. So this idea of culture is quite important, and it's something that you've got to really establish and really reinforce every day. We talk about walking the walk, not just the talk, right? And so it's actually, how do you put it into practice? That's really key, because I've seen other companies they might have a list of values, or they might have a purpose statement that they have that's nice for their website. But do they really live by it? Do they put it into practice?
So
go ahead.
I was with that comment, you reminded me of, I'll leave the company name where I was working out, but you could go across Canada and even in the US, I believe, and you would go into a branch office, and right behind the receptionist was the mission statement. It was like, I don't know, 500 words, maybe not 500, but it was a lot of words.
Sure.
And I remember being at a conference in Toronto, and one of our vice presidents was standing at the lectern with his teleprompters. And you could tell he was reading it. It wasn't living it. Like you were saying, walk the walk. He was not doing that. And we almost, it was like, other than that, the company was pretty good, but there was a disconnect at the senior level communicating to the worker bees like me and others, right? That you didn't necessarily feel that what they were wanting us to do in terms of the culture, they weren't actually delivering it from the top down.
And you can even go further. If this is something, we talk about being intentional here about the culture. I mean, even a best practice is that you actually do training around, I'll call it your purpose statement, why you exist, right? Mm-hmm. We know quite often that when businesses say, well, we're in business to make money, that they've missed the boat. They're in business to serve their clients. An outcome of that is that they make money when they do that well. And so when you start talking about serving your clients and how you do that, and the culture around that as well, you begin, and you get your employees to talk about, well, what does that mean to me? I spent 35 years, you mentioned, with Michelin. And, when I tell people about Michelin, I say, what do you think Michelin does? They'll say, well, you make tires. Of course we make tires, right? But Michelin is more about providing freedom so that people can travel, that they can pursue economic wealth away from their home. And so it's about providing individuals freedom. And that's very different than, hey, we just make tires. That's a purpose. And so when you start talking about, and this goes back to my own experiences, we would actually do training around that, where we would bring the employees in, we would talk about the company's purpose statement, and then we would ask a very important question. We would say, how does that apply to you personally? Why do you come to work? How does that purpose drive you every day? Because we want the employees to internalize that culture. So that's again, it goes back to the leaders being very intentional about what the culture is, but then actually making it and doing things to make it live in your company.
Yeah. You also, what I like about, I'm trying not to ask questions with, how the hell do you know what I'm going to, so I'll just get right to the point. So what that brings up for me is two things. And I just recently saw on a social media video platform somewhere, and they were talking about culture is something that's created. And it was, I think, at the Detroit Lions. Could be wrong with the branding of the team, but one of the guys, and he was Caucasian, and he was at the front of the room dancing and singing a particular song. And he was there with all of his teammates, and they were kind of in a theater sitting where they got that stacked rows, and he's doing his best dance, and then a couple of guys started laughing at him, and he continued on, and they started to evolve, and the whole room started to be part of the whole event. And the tagline to that, culture is created. Yeah. And when you've got culture, when something like that happens, you can't impose that on somebody. The guys did it themselves. And
That's
the other
great.
that brings to that is have you seen Daniel Pink's Drive animated video?
I have not.
Oh, it's a powerful explanation. They did a study through MIT, I believe, and they did it in North America, and they did it in India, and they got the same results. So I'm not going to be a spoiler for anybody who's watching and listening to this. You want to go and watch that video. It's powerful. It's in alignment with what you and I are talking about.
Fantastic. Well, I think going back to the point, though, so I think you shared this example about in the room, but that just didn't just happen that day, right? That's something that's been building for a while. It clearly, you don't just wake up one morning and go, let's have culture today, right?
Right.
This is something you have to do intentionally every day, and really make it as a leader. We talk about leader activities, right? So, we were talking about working on the business, not in the business. Working on your culture, working on culture is working on the business. Clearly an item that's important. And some people might challenge that, but I'm sorry, I happen to feel very strongly that's working on the business when you're developing and sustaining your culture.
And you sound like you're Canadian because you just apologize. Don't apologize. You're absolutely right.
Thank you for that.
And no worries.
So I guess when we go beyond that initial corporate culture, one of the areas that I've spent a lot of time in my career on is continuous improvement. And this is a little bit of a subset, okay, of that macro culture. But I like to also think about what makes a good continuous improvement culture. And I think I shared with you there are 5 principles to that I'd love to talk about with the room, because it's in business today. I think about there's kind of 2 things. We hear the saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, okay, as a company. And so it's really the days of, hey, hit the goals and be done are over, right? You have to be able to hit your goals, hit your targets for today and the month and the year, but also improve that. So that improvement piece is a part of continuous improvement for me. That's an important element of the broader culture statement. So I like to think about 5 things that I think about are really important for us sustaining a strong continuous improvement culture. The first of all is really understanding the needs of your clients, of your customers, and delivering value, not value as you see it, but value as they see it. what is the value they're looking for in your product or service. The second thing is this idea of strong employee engagement. Strong employee engagement is extremely important. There's a study that was formalized by a company in France called the Law of Symmetry. And it says that if you take care of your employees and you engage them, they're going to take care of your customers. So employee engagement is the second element. It's very important for a strong continuous improvement culture and for success. Then we get into three other things that are I won't say are less important, but maybe lesser. One of them being a passion for eliminating waste, or the passion for getting rid of things that don't serve your customer. The fourth element would be a very healthy respect for standards. So when people hear that, sometimes they get a little bit like, what do you really mean by that? Does it mean I always have to follow the standard? No. What it means is that I know the standards, and when I can't follow them, I begin to ask questions about the standard. Is it a good standard? Does it need to be modified? Why can't I follow it? And then the fifth is visual management. We've heard the adage that a picture's worth 1,000 words. And of course, a video is worth 1,000 pictures, you might say. But this idea of visual management, so that we really understand what we're trying to accomplish and how we're doing against the goals and targets we've set. So those are the five principles that I like to speak about that are really, in my mind, essential for a strong and continuous improvement culture, which supports that overall culture we talked about for the company earlier.
And there's a couple of things in there that stood out for me, whether you're being a culture in the space of commerce, whatever that might be, organizations, associations, or athletic teams. And when I was coaching high elite athletes in hockey, we didn't have rules in engagement. There's rules to the game. Absolutely there are.
Yes.
But we didn't have rules to our team, because that then becomes, I'm do it my way or the highway. We never worked our team that way. We had some of the best girls in out of the draft of girls we had in the city I live in, but we didn't have them all because there's 3 teams and they were divvied up because you had a draft. So we could protect 5, but then the other 14 were drafted. And what we found was the team that I was involved with, we were consistently reaching high levels. We didn't always get to the final. We were always in the playoffs and usually got to the second round and often to the finals, but not all the time. And the key to that was having standards to go by. In the world of hockey where I live, there's more guys playing hockey. There's more girls starting to play hockey. It's exciting to see. But the boys were told, the young gentlemen are told that pick hockey or football. You can't do both because it's a rigorous schedule for both. Yes. The girls, we couldn't be that stringent. They played piano, they played lacrosse, they played field hockey, rugby. And we didn't tell them what they could or couldn't do. We just said, okay, life is about choices. And this is where the standards come in. So if you decide you need to go to do something for rugby and it conflicts with our schedule, then you know that there's going to be consequences. So as long as you're okay with that, and sometimes the consequences we didn't like, because some of the girls were really good and we had to sit them for a period because that standard, which is really what we were striving for, is good for everybody, no matter where you are and
yes.
your skill set. So I've been bringing that into my own coaching practice with the clients that I get to work with.
Yeah, a lot of times about standards in business too. That's can be defined by a business target. So let's suppose I'm tracking my let's just take revenue because it's something people can relate to. You got to have a goal, right? You got to have a target, and that target is a standard. And if you're not hitting that target, that standard, then you need to be asking yourself why, and what can I do? What action should I take now to rectify that situation? So the importance of that target, or that standard as I'll call it, is to help you just know when you need to act. Going back to your same comment about the hockey team, you had to sit someone for a quarter or for a period, excuse me, wrong game. If you had to sit someone for a period, it was why did you miss it? Well, I was at something else. And so, what am I going to do about it next time? Well, I'm going to be here. And so it's that same mentality that you have about standards, or perhaps even, let's just take it one step further. We also, there's a really simple 3 questions you can ask about standards that I think are really relevant here. Sometimes, you ask the first question, if you have an anomaly, do we have a standard, right? So oftentimes people don't have that standard, have that target. Okay. So you have to establish one. That's the first thing. But if it's established, then the second question is, did you follow it? Right? Because a lot of times people will have the standard, but they realize, well, it's a good standard, but we didn't follow it. Going back to your hockey example, if you're not going to be consistent in how you enforce it, then it's really not having a standard. And then the third question is, hey, I had a standard and I followed it. Occasionally, then, even though I followed it, it still didn't bring me the results I wanted. Then you need to make a small modification to the standard, right? So it can be effective at getting you the results you want to get. So those are the 3 questions that quite often you want to ask. So when we talk about a healthy respect for standards, it's not blindly following standards. It's being ready to ask those 3 questions and understanding that the standard has meaning in helping you drive your business or your hockey team, whatever happens to be the case.
Yeah. And when I did almost interrupt you, but I was able to pause. What made me think about was that there's doing it. It's like, I'm going to add this comment of one of our guests watching. It's lip service or a cliche. It's one thing to have just like I started with that mission statement with the company I was working with. It's lip service, cliche, whatever other word you want to put on it.
Mm-hmm.
So what Eric is talking about here is vision, walk it daily, and with your culture. So being congruent, right?
Yeah, thanks, Eric. That's a really cool way to say it. I may actually have to copy that and take it home with me. So that's really good. Thank you for that.
He helps people have oven fresh, right at their restaurant pizzas, even when they're delivered. That's the businesser, and they have a special. I think it's patented that they provide for their customers, which are the pizza restaurants and pie makers, and they have an extra liner that they put in the box, and it keeps them. It allows. I might get this wrong, but it almost like ventilates. It gets it off, gives it a space to breathe underneath while it's being delivered.
Wow. What part of Canada are we talking about for them?
Oh, he's an American. He's in Oklahoma, I believe, Tulsa.
Okay. Well, now I know that I've got to explore that when I get to that part of the country.
There you go.
Excellent.
I mean, he sells that all over North America.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're manufactured. Eric, if you're still here, pop in and correct me. In the northern part of the U.S., but he's based out of, I believe, Tulsa.
Excellent. Well, that's super. So anyway, so those 5 principles really play well. And again, it's a similar conversation around the leaders got to walk the walk.
Yeah.
In other words, if you set a standard, it's got to be good for everybody. Okay. If I have to be asking the question, the other thing I talked about, those 5 points about value defined by the customer, that's not static. It's a dynamic thing, as things change, as the environment changes, as the needs of the client evolve. And so you have to be able to evolve your understanding of that as the client changes. And
I'm going to try something I've never done before. Watch this. There they are.
Look at that. That's lovely. Yep, those are the 5.
Yeah, just how can we quickly and easily do it? I was going to wrap up when we get to the end of the conversation, was to make sure people had it. But there's quite a few, and I think this is the easiest way to find it. I'll put it in the show notes as well, so you read the transcript and see it there. But there they are. This is what you were mainly here to talk about today.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for putting it up there.
No worries. Thanks for having it so I could put it up there. We sound like that. No, after you. No, I insist after you.
Yeah, those chipmunks, right?
That's right. Yeah. But what I wanted to do here, not this particular page, I've got a couple of things up here so where people can find you. And it's really hard to, I'm going to start with this one. Yeah, sorry to bring it up. Here we go. So this is your LinkedIn page, but you know what? It's really hard to see it, but don't worry. I've got that handled. Look at this, Mike. Watch this. There. If you want to find Mike Ungar, that's where you can find him on LinkedIn. His handsome face and his branding and his URL for his LinkedIn site is there. Lots of great information. And again, you can connect with him. And the other place I have is right here. We'll change a few things up, is his website. And you will see that he has a business growth score button as well. We both do. So if you would like to engage with Mike, by all means do that. Matter of fact, I demand you do it because you'd be short selling yourself the opportunity to hang out with Mike. He's a wonderful dude. Known him for a few years, and we're not in the same part of the world, but we do the same kind of thing. Matter of fact, there's a couple hundred of us and growing around the globe. But I can't have them all on at the same time because we'd never get the show done. So I'm going to ask you, if there was one thing that you would want to impart on our audience today, what would that be?
It goes back to really what we started with at the beginning of the day for leaders. You can't delegate culture. It has to be something that you're intentional about and that you walk the walk with, okay? And so think about what is your culture in your business? What is it that you're trying to, what is it you want your employees to think about when they come to work and in serving your clients? So culture can't be delegated. It's the leader's responsibility. And quite honestly, a big part of the first step forward is recognizing that and then taking that ownership. So Phil, that's what I would really leave our audience with is take that responsibility. And that's even if you're a leader of a company or even if you're a leader of a team. Again, you're responsible for the culture within your team. So you can't delegate that. That's something that's really important to take responsibility for.
Well, it's a great way to end our episode today. We could probably talk about this quite a lot, do a deeper dive, but now at least when people come across this episode, they know how to get a hold of you if they want to do a deeper dive, or you can get a hold of me, but I'm not as the same kind of expert as you are in that area. I specialize in some other things, but it's all good. Sales, marketing, and mental fitness is something we have in common, and how we help our clients and future clients is with integrity, passion, and we want to help them have the impact that they want to have in their own industry, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you to hang out with me in the green room. Don't go away. I'll be back with you shortly. I want to bring this in for a landing. But I also want to say thank you on the air for being here. Much appreciated.
No, thank you for having me, Coach Phil. I've seen the Business Renovator now quite a few times, and I really appreciate the content that you share with your audience. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Well, thanks for that. Much appreciated. Well, that brings us to another end, to another wonderful. Oh, look at that. Wonderful. So the you where my finger is you. You're unique and you are wonderful. So continue being your wonderful self. Until next time, I'm Coach Phil. This is the wrap up of the episode today of the Business Renovator.
I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking